Keyshawn Davis from his hometown in Norfolk, Virginia, Scope Arena, wins a dominant 12-round unanimous decision over Nahir Albright to put their rivalry between what happened in the aftermath of Albright beating Kelvin Davis and then what happened, and it puts it to bed. And yeah, on my live, I went in depth about it. It was a dominant performance, but a bit of an immature performance too. A performance where I think if Keyshawn Davis would have stayed composed from rounds 6 through 10, he could have got a stoppage in this fight. The first 5 rounds, it was a lot of tense feinting and positioning. Both fighters very defensively responsible, good IQ, high IQs, but Keyshawn just being the more naturally gifted and talented and better all-around fighter was a step ahead. I thought that gap started to widen in the 6th round, and he was starting to really land some good body shots. But then the moment of the fight, one of the big moments of the fight, in the 7th round, Albright clinches Keyshawn. He throws him to the canvas, lifts him off his feet, and I thought that got him out of what they call now a flow state that he was getting into in the 6th round, beginning to chop down Albright. 7, 8, 9, and 10, it's a lot of rough housing. It's a lot of making faces at the arena, at the corners, at whoever. And I thought that got him away from breaking down Albright. And he didn't really get back into his flow until rounds 11 and 12 when he turned it up again. So there was some inconsistency there, and he closed strong. But I feel if he could have sustained more of that combination punching, more of the body work, keep implementing what was working off of his jab, off of his right hand, going to the body, he could have stopped Albright, who's very crafty and savvy and knows how to survive in there and knows how to bluff very well in there. He'll take steps forward right when you're being a little bit lax, make it look like he's pressing the fight when he's still in a bit of a safety gear at the same time. I mean, he's a defensively responsible fighter. But, yeah, I thought he won every round, but there was some immaturity in this performance throughout. And you could see it heading into the fight that he wasn't as locked in as he was for the Jermaine Ortiz fight. And even in that fight, he could have gotten Ortiz out of there sooner. That's how much in control he was of that fight. But he does go through these kind of lulls and everything. He's got high IQ. He's mean in there. And he's very talented, fast, got good power in both hands, excellent combination puncher, a full offensive repertoire, and he's slick. He's very hard to hit, but still some maturity needs to be shown by Keyshawn to get to his full potential, and stuff like that could bite him in the ass if he were to fight a Devin Haney next or some other guys next.
You know, Sean, a couple of weeks ago, I spent time at Colorado College.
Right.
Solidifying my professorship.
Right. Congrats.
I spent time with the youth of America, the academic top cream of the crop of this great nation. And that is actually today is their graduation day. So I'm wearing, shout out to Colorado College, I'm wearing the Tiger gear for that reason. And it's appropriate for this show because we are talking about a young man who is coming of age into his own, in the spotlight, and maturing in front of our eyes. And maybe if I hadn't had that experience at Colorado College and had the opportunity to speak to these young minds as they develop and potentially give me a bit more empathy for these young men as they mature in front of our eyes, I'd have been a little bit more harsh today. But because it's graduation day, I'm going to give more of a graduation speech energy. I like Keyshawn Davis. I like what he's doing in his social media. I see him working the angles. I don't think he's abrasive or obnoxious. He's not vulgar. I might have liked the police fight footage better before this actual fight happened in the ring. That was a bit more exciting than this fight was on Saturday night. I say that tongue-in-cheek because those kind of moments are what you don't want to see. We talked about it at length at the time, and I came down hard on him because he's got so much fantastic potential, such a charming personality when he wants to be, that kind of behavior outside the ring is a way to torpedo everything. you are best friends with Shakur Stevenson. I like the relationship there. You're like brothers, but you're not the same. Take some pages out of Shakur's book, who is also a young man who's had his moments, who talks his shit on social media and such, but in the ring, he has a certain level of composure, maturity, discipline, focus of mission that you don't have. And that is glaringly missing in moments like Saturday night. I appreciate a guy who can entertain fans and understand how to build a following, have some antics, talk your shit to Abdullah Mason or whatever, and get some clicks and make us chuckle. But when that bell rings and it's time to knuckle down and do the businessman, be about the business. Even when Floyd Mayweather is licking his tongue out and talking to Jim Lampley and all that stuff, I'm not impressed by that either. And so it doesn't mean that I'm saying you don't have the talent that you have, or that maybe the fight isn't as easy as it looks, and you're letting us know you're not having a hard time in there. That's just not business. It's not as entertaining as you think it is. It's not the flex you think it is when the fight's boring and you don't get a knockout. If you're sleeping, guys, if you lick your tongue out, turn around, and put him down for the 10 count, I will forgive you that. If you're Roy Jones, then yes. But you're not that, at least not yet. And the thing that you're doing is not at all helping your fight, your popularity, or my entertainment value. I can't put it all on Davis either. I mean, Albright is a hug fest. He was first half of the fight just in survival mode. Maybe he thought in the second half of the fight he could wear him down and come on. And the fight did get going after 5-6, but that's because Keyshawn, finally started doing some combinations. And what our guy Malik Scott likes to say, early in this fight, they had an agreement. When one hugged, the other hugged. They had they made a decision between them this was going to be okay. And what I would have liked to see from Keyshawn, which would have been more impressive than winking at the crowd or doing a hip thrust, is to learn something from Alexander Usyk. Look, what he did with Tyson Fury in the second fight, especially, when the guy comes in to try to hug you, pivot him out, turn him around, and make him pay for that. You can do things like that. If you want to be a showboat, you want to be a flex, if you want us to say, wow, implement something like that. I think that was possible in this fight, except that you had an agreement. I was thinking about you down the stretch. So I was like, this knockout's not coming. And if he had been about business from the gate, he'd have got there. That's the lesson in this fight. With that said, man, I think the kid's growing. I like the post-fight interview. I think he was a little bit, not even just immature, he was childish about it. I don't think he wanted to have this fight. He resents Top Rank for making him have the fight. He thinks he's levels above. He wants more shine. He was kind of fluffing it off. And as a young man that isn't as mature as he should be, doesn't realize that going in there and having a less than exemplary performance, not doing your 100% best, doesn't get you the better fight, doesn't get you the more shine, doesn't prove your point, kind of proves their point. I was fucking nodding out by round 4. That ain't how you get the big dough.
Yeah, okay, couple points to jump off of. So Bam, you mentioned he's still a young guy, right? He's 27. And a guy like Bam Rodriguez is, and I get it, hey, I'm still maturing at 34, okay? Trust me, I get it. He's had problems with weed. I've had problems with weed, much older than him, and but not for the last 6 months, okay? So that's what I mean. Even I'm getting better. But part of why he had to have this rematch was your win was overturned to a no contest because of the weed, and then you did what you did after the Kelvin Davis fight, so that opens the door for Top Rank to make a cheap fight. More on them later. What an underwhelming first serving on DAZN. It's almost like they didn't learn their lesson in their late ESPN tenure. Why? And yeah, maybe there was some poisoning the well on why they couldn't get a second deal with ESPN. Some other forces making sure they didn't get back on that network. But at the same time, a big reason they didn't get on there was their quality control wasn't consistent. And this was like a lot of the underwhelming Top Rank fight cards that they had more in the second half of their stay on ESPN. But yeah, Bam Rodriguez is younger than Keyshawn Davis. Bam Rodriguez, who fights in a couple weeks against Antonio Vargas, he's younger and extremely cold, clinical, professional, and business-like about breaking down the man in front of him each and every time out. And 99.9% of the time leaves no doubt, I'm that guy. I'm exactly who you think I am. I'm not even who I say I am. I'm who you all say I am. Okay, that's how good I am. And so there's a comparison there. And the things you're talking about with the showmanship, that as he was seeing it, all the faces he's making and the elbows in Nahir Albright's face when he's tying him up, instead of doing, like you said, a Usyk would do, or sometimes what Sean Porter would try to do, turn a guy and then get back on offense. And although Sean did his plenty of share of mauling and everything, but punching while doing it too in the clinch anyways, I think Usyk's a good comparison to strive for. Those things by Floyd, talking to Jim Lampley during the Henry Bruselas fight, looking off Canelo like that in the 12th round against Canelo Alvarez, those were fleeting things. For the little snippets of the fight, he was incessant and repetitive and continuous. I mean, you could make a highlight reel of how many times he was doing that stuff, and that is focus lapses. And because I think he's tough and I think he's smart. I think he has a very high boxing IQ, but focus is a bit of a separate matter from those two intangibles. Toughness, dog, and intelligence, it's focus lapses. And that's what I saw in this fight. And those guys, again, that you mentioned, those are little moments in fights that where the job was, I mean, Floyd was on his way to a stoppage that night, that he predicted the Patriots going to the Super Bowl and incorrectly said Michael Vick would beat the Eagles. 2004 NFC AFC title game predictions. And again, in the Canelo fight, the job was already done, against the all-time great fighter. Another point too about the part of why I'm thinking I'm pulling a little bit more punches on Albright is I felt he was he did more of, even in losing 12-0, the best he could with what he's got. When these fighters talk about, if you get reckless, you're gonna get knocked out. Like Oshaki Foster saying that to Raymond Ford. Devin Haney said it to Brian Norman. If you get too overzealous in there, you're going to sleep. And what they mean is, my level is here, your level's there, and if you try to make up for that by going for broke, by going all out, it's not going to end well for you. So stay in check, and that's what Albright did. Albright's not going to exactly go for broke, and what I saw him trying to do was, he's outgunned. Davis is off the mark first. He could beat him to the punch, and then he's slick, and he has great reactions, really good defense. He always expects something to come back. That's how much of a well-schooled, all-around fighter he is. Davis, if he wants to lean back on his back foot and set a trap for his right hand, he can do that. If he wants to lead, so if you take the lead and try to get overzealous, he's a really good counterpuncher. A few times he baited Albright to reach and to step in and then fired off a counter combination. Or you got to worry about that right hand right there. If you just sit back a lot and fence with him and feint with him, he's got quicker hands. He's got a really good jab upstairs and downstairs. He'll do that, and then he'll get off to the lead. And then when you try to react to him, he will have a defensive maneuver already ready to make you miss or tie you up right after that, get physical in the clinch. So Albright was neutralized. His best fight, he pretty much fought. Yeah, he could have done more. He could have done more, but he was waiting for the right opening, and that's why one of the times he found one in the 5th round, he hit Keyshawn with a right hand. But outside of that, he basically did the best he could do. He's out of his talent pool. Keyshawn, he needs to, in order to really be matched, he has to fight other fighters as talented and as twitchy as he is. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, if he ever wakes back up and gets things going, although that fight will probably never happen. Even Gary Antoine Russell, all those guys, he has to fight guys of equal talent to really be challenged. And Albright isn't in that class.
Yeah, be careful of the guys who need to fight to the level of their opponent. That is a short path on a long road. You're going to have to perform at your level, no matter who the opponent is, if you really want to be a superstar in this game. And one thing I am certain of, Keyshawn Davis really wants to be a superstar in this game, and he's trying to figure out how to be that. Well, if we're going to talk about Albright, I believe what we were seeing wasn't bad game plan wise. He knew he was out of his levels, but he thought maybe he was a superior mental athlete in that he had so much experience with Keyshawn outside of the ring, knowing what this fight meant, knowing that Keyshawn missed weight, knowing that Keyshawn can be mentally weak and broken in there with frustration, that I think the tying up what ultimately ended in the 2-point deduction with the body slam, and then him trying to kind of like goad it again, and then him kind of hip tossing Keyshawn Davis in return. All of that, I think, was for him to hopefully, in his mind, get Keyshawn out of sorts, get him frustrated, make him maybe overcommit to something, or get him off his game so he could have an opportunity. And that's what will happen if you continue to show mental weakness or distraction, or that you're easily frustrated, or you don't want to be there, or you can't make weight, which he joked off. And let's be fair, point two? Yeah, I mean, initially, that's not a lot, but it is too much. And when you are clearly not taking it seriously, like you're reacting to being, it's almost like he was 4 pounds over and the fight got canceled, right? So people speculated that hurt ticket sales on this one. And then you're still over. If you're going to be 2 over and not care, you might as well be 2 pounds over and see if you can get away with that if you couldn't get away with the 4. Like, either be the thing, be the guy, go in there, do the business, or, F it off and think and see if you can still sell tickets that way. It's going to be a lot harder road to world championships. It's going to be a lot harder to get people to count on you to put a big fight in your hands, but you can be a regional fighter, you can be a regional superstar in your area and convince people to sell out where you're from. But if you want to be on the global stage, if you want to be known as the businessman, then you have to come to this with a business attitude. The people who are selling tickets with your name on them, people who are putting your name in the marquee as the top tier fighter, they expect a certain level of professionalism that they can count on. And if anything, this fight especially, you should have just made sure that you made weight, just to make sure that everybody felt like that last thing that happened was a complete one-off, like an anomaly, like something really did go wrong, and that's not your attitude about things. And then afterwards, he's like, we're all joking about how we can't make weight, he's got to go up. Well, then go up then. You know what I'm saying? I prefer guys fighting in their proper weight classes anyway. I think, all this boiling down to the last teardrop so you can make weight and then trying to blow back up as big as you can is ruining the game in its own way. So I don't begrudge you that, but I do begrudge you the cavalier attitude about it. Everybody's counting on you all the way down the card. You saw what can happen if you really don't take it seriously. This kind of like this attitude of I don't care, everything's a joke, and I still want the fight that I want when I want it. That's not going to fly, man. You're not that charming. And you're not showing that level of greatness either. You have to have something to counterbalance that if you're going to take that posture. You have to have something so great in some area that it's just undeniable and people got to put up with it. You're not there yet. And I think you can get there without being unprofessional. I think you've shown that you can be charming without being obnoxious. A lot of fighters can't walk that line. That's impressive to me. I think you're genuinely a good guy. Just live up to the name you gave yourself. Be about this business, and the business will be about you.
Yeah, he's a natural extrovert, to your point about when he could be charming. Good smile, natural extrovert. When he's lively and in a good mood, he makes people smile around him. You know what I mean? And then there's the other side, right, that can be looked at as obnoxious and a little immature and all that stuff. A lot of young athletes have. But I think I think again, we'll see what happens next. Maybe an IBF vacant title fight with Oscar Duarte, or maybe he does move up to welterweight. But Devin Haney after the fight was talking about Debo's coming for Devin Haney or for Keyshawn. Keyshawn's a nut. He's saying all that stuff. Look, it might be smart of Devin Haney to jump on that fight now before Keyshawn really gets the seasoning a guy like him has, and get more championship rounds under his belt. Oh, now I remember what I was going to say too. To your point about still calling out the fight that you want, even though certain things in your business aren't being handled, like the weight and everything. I was thinking of Tim Bradley, friend of the show, obviously. And Tim, he had the kind of path before getting the type of Pacquiao, Marquez, Vegas marquee fights that a lot of fighters don't take these days. He had to fight guys that were young and strong and dangerous and good for not a lot of money. He couldn't just sit back and fight the Nahir Albrights and guys like that. No disrespect to Albright, who is a savvy and legit pro, but he had to fight a Kendall Holt, who was a puncher. He had to fight Lamont Peterson, who was undefeated and a really legit guy. He had to unify with Devin Alexander. He had to go overseas and fight Junior Witter. Those are a number of fighters that were good, live bodies, legit championship level guys, not even just savvy, guys with world titles to their name. And he had to go through a gauntlet of those guys before, as a B-side, he could earn a shot at a Pacquiao fight, at a Marquez fight, Provodnikov being another one. And what I'm saying is he put in the work to get the opportunity to fight in marquee fights. You can't just keep saying, I want this, I want that, but you got 15 fights and one title to your name and expect them to jump. Now, that being said, because I think he beats a Dalton Smith. I think he could beat a Gary Antoine Russell. But why would they risk their position?
On Saturday night beats
him.
What's up? Brian Norman we saw on the card, who stole the show, beats him last
night. Okay, so I made a video about that last night, and then at the end in my house, I'm still a fucking weakling sometimes, Raheem, because I make a quick 10-second amendment when I go, okay, I changed my mind. On second thought, Keyshawn Davis would beat Brian Norman. And
wait, you said that after the fight?
Because originally I'm like, I don't know if he beats Brian Norman, the Brian Norman I saw in the co-main and I get Josh Wagner is 5 or 6 or 7 levels below. None of us have ever heard of Josh Wagner, but Brian Norman looked good, man. He looked good.
Exactly.
We like beating on the storm. I'm a Brian Norman guy.
What we saw from Brian last night, I don't care who was on the other side of that. Wagner, it could be Lindsey Wagner from Terminator with all the guns. He winning. He's coming. This guy, really, I was like, the guns were there. Listen, being beat down by Devin Haney can focus the mind. Maybe that is the right fight.
Did you see the new look in his stance? He was down here with the lead hand. He learned that from the Devin Haney fight. The up jab, the double. He has a great jab.
Go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh, I like this guy.
I rescind my whole Keyshawn beats Brian. I got to see that. I don't know about that. How about that? I don't know about that, okay? And maybe Devin Haney should take that fight right now. Do the Benavidez Morel. Before this guy gets seasoned, before this guy grows into his weight class, you go fight him now. And I think Keyshawn Davis is better than David Morrell. David Morrell hasn't aged like fine wine. We saw what happened against Zach Chele about a week ago. But the same kind of dynamic. Like, this guy looks really good. He's young. He's talented. He's brash. He has a lot of confidence. But you're much more experienced than him. Maybe you take it right now when it's maybe it's not at its biggest commercial value, but it's at its it favors you. It's the most opportune time to win the fight for Devin Haney. And Keyshawn actually has a deeper offensive bag than Devin Haney. He has a deeper offensive repertoire than Devin Haney, but Devin is going to be extremely focused for all 12 and just is more seasoned than him, and he's grown in strong to the welterweight division. I would favor Haney right now. And yes, thank you for cleaning up the Brian Norman slander from last night that I got bullied into. I go, no, they're going to say now I'm just taking it a step too far. I'm being a Brian Norman fanboy too much again. Norman looked very sharp, man. I still would like to see a straight right hand, some head movement, and changing his head slots in different positions off the line. If he could put that together, and he's 2 years younger than Keyshawn. He's 25. If he can grow his game, bro, the future is still very bright for Brian Norman. And that win could age very well for Devin Haney, and maybe even have to see him again.
Let me tell you, this is one of the moments when we can, as boxing fans and pundits alike, remind ourselves that the O ain't everything. You can learn from a loss. You can come back better. You can be a improved, more mature fighter after having gone through what no fighter wants to experience, which is taking the L. It doesn't destroy your career. Brian Norman is not in the main event, but he stole the show. We're talking about him potentially beating the guy who won in the main event. This guy I'm more excited to see again right now than I am Keyshawn Davis because of the way he presented himself in the fight. And yes, Ed, to your point, the opposition was the opposition, but he was so focused. If anybody could have been licking their tongue out or giving the thrust to the crowd or winking at chicks in the third row.
He gave a funny look to the camera in between rounns. That was gold. He's got one of the best personalities in boxing. I've been saying that.
Listen, in between rounds is your time. If you're going to do that, that's the time to do it. Yeah, that's your lunch break, okay, Mr. Businessman? But while you're on the clock, literally while you're on the clock, stay about that business. Get them out of there. And then do your dance, whoever it is. You can backflip if you're, Lomachenko. You can do whatever you want when you get done with the business, especially at this stage. You're still establishing yourself as that guy. And in your mind, you already are that guy, but we don't see that guy yet. We see the potential for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving you proper credit for your attributes, but you got to exercise it. When you got a guy in front of you like Albright, who you are levels above, you need to show that. Not that you think that, but that you are that.